What is up, guys? Chris here, Bear Market Mining. Welcome back, well, into the mining room, or the soon to be old solar mining farm. The AI and crypto farm is about to be shut down in here completely and moved to another location. So for many of you that have been following, you would know that this room used to look a lot different, and we'll get you turned around in a sec. We've basically decommissioned absolutely everything, other than a few little rigs you can still see behind me, which we'll go through. Because like we said, we're moving. We have bought a new property. There's already solar on the roof, and we're adding a battery because the markets are absolutely terrible right now. And the only way to stay profitable with any of this stuff, or even make any sort of passive income, is to be completely off grid. And with the new setup we're about to be installing, we're going to be able to achieve that. So before we get into the cost of the battery, all that sort of stuff, and look at the new mining room, let's have a quick talk about exactly what we've got left. So only a few little skerricks remaining in here. We can see up the top, we've got this AE3. That is an Aleo miner, currently off right now because it does make a fair bit of noise, and we don't want to ruin the recording. We've got our Octaspace AI rental rig here. This is a dual 5090. Build with an epic CPU, 128 gigabytes of RAM. So this right here is about an $8,500 US rig that stayed online. And we've got one more 5090 down here just chunking away. They're both on rentals right now, so combined they're making about 15 bucks a day, which is really nice in passive income. But there is about $4 or $5 of electricity to take out as well, which will not be an issue shortly. So that's all we've got going on in here at the moment. Now for the fun stuff, let's move over to the new property and have a look at the new solar mining farm space. All right, so let's take a look at this soon to be mining room after much work, as you can see. So this is not going to be all of my space. We will be putting a little office down in this right corner where this opening is for my wife. We've taken a big window out there. We're putting another one in also. And then I'm going to be taking up the rest of this space. So a few changes, well, a lot of changes actually. These bifolds will be coming out. We'll be framing that all in, sheeting it all again, and of course putting a little door for access. But there's a fair few things going on in here. So we will need to do some waterproofing, because for some reason when they built this, it was built onto a fence, and that's not going to work. So we're going to need to sheet that, waterproof it, run our cables in, and then sheet again. So everything's been stripped already at the moment. There was asbestos, and the sparkies have started running all the power in. So we're going to have 60 amps just for me coming in here. Plenty for what I need, way more than I need actually. I'm not running any big ASICs, so that will definitely work. We're going to be putting a dividing wall in here as well for my wife's office in there. So that will be pretty good. Insulation, waterproofing, everything, sheeting, framing. So definitely plenty to do. And thinking about running this exhaust through this little way here. It might get dark in here, so not sure if you can see, but we've got a little section right here for the battery. Oh, if it focuses, with a smoke alarm. That's just Australian standards. If the batteries are indoors, they need to have a smoke alarm fitted with fire rated sheeting. And we've got our new switchboard up in there with all of our cable running. So definitely a pretty big space for what I need. My space will end up being about a 5 meter long by about 1.5 meter wide. And I want to, as we said, frame this all in and then add some intake on the side walls here. So I'm thinking maybe like a floor to ceiling vent or something like that with another wall through. We haven't quite exactly figured it all out yet, but one thing I do know, it will end up being exactly what we want. So let me know, guys, if you have any suggestions as to what you think we should add in here. If anything, we're definitely going to need to sheet the outside and make it look all pretty, but we are renovating the old house. For those of you who follow along, you know I'm a builder, I run a construction company, so we've got all the boys on this whole house. You won't be seeing the whole house just yet, maybe a little sneak peek later, but this will all be looking a lot nicer in a few months. So let's jump on over to the computer now and talk some numbers, some ROIs, if you like that term, and just see what this solar battery could be creating and how we're going to get to that $0 monthly electricity bill. All right, so let's talk some numbers, because if you've been following along, you know I'm a numbers guy, right? And what's that saying? If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? So we're doing this because we know we can pay this battery off. We know that we need to be off grid throughout this, what looks like a bear market now, if we're going to actually make any passive income. Now, we're not trying to make millions of dollars here. $10 a day I'm happy with, right? It takes the family on a holiday once a year. Definitely worth it now that we've got the hardware. But your numbers, so we can see right here, we've got the inverter that comes in this pricing. Now, bear in mind, these are all in Australian dollars. So we've got the 8 batteries, we've got the 1 master, the 8 slaves, it's got the monitoring, the single phase, it's got the inbuilt Wi-Fi that comes with it, and of course that hybrid inverter that's attached to it. Now, this number may look pretty scary, $21,319, but because in Australia there's a government incentive, I'm not sure exactly what the plan's called, but basically they're covering like 60% of that cost. So you can see right here the total cost comes down after that sales discount, which is just a random discount they give you, right? It doesn't actually mean anything, it's just to make you feel good. There's $12,320 worth of subsidies that the government's paying. So this cost for me out of pocket for a 42 kilowatt hour battery is $6,499. So $6,500 Aussie, which is about $4,000 USD. Now, as we mentioned, this property already came with 10 kilowatts of panels on the roof, which was already installed. So there's no cost involved in that apart from the fortune that I already paid for the property. It was nice to have it included anyway, right? So $6,499 for this battery. So really happy with the pricing that I got in that. Now, this subsidy, if you are from Australia, is running out the middle of the year. I think the government had X amount of billions of dollars that they spent on it, and everybody's eating it up. So if you're from Australia and you want to get yourself a battery, now is the time. Go and do it. So let's have a little bit more of a look at the battery and my sort of daily usages from where we're at now to see if this thing and how long it will take to pay itself off. So the battery and inverter models, they're the Fox KH or KA hybrid inverters. So this is a 10 kilowatt hour hybrid inverter. Perfect, because we've got 10 kilowatts worth of panels on the roof. Now, it does say the max efficiency is just under 100%, right? You're not going to get that full efficiency. That's the conversion between the panels taking the energy in, converting it to DC or something like that. Something technical that I don't know exactly all about. But you're not going to get 100% of it from the sun. Nearly 98% is pretty close, so we'll take that, right? And these are the different batteries. So it stacks up like this. They're basically stackable up to about 80 something kilowatts. But we've got 42 for now because we're not going to be able to generate 80 kilowatts anyway. And we're going to try and use most of the energy that we're storing. Now, SolarLink is not the place that I bought this from. If you're wondering, this is just telling us a little bit about the battery details. So they're 4.66 kilowatt hour batteries, scalable up to just under 42. As we know, they've got a 6,000 cycle lifetime, right? So I think it works out to like 16 years or something like that. Someone can do the math. 6,000 divided by 365. Now, the battery itself has got a 10-year warranty on the installation and on the products, right? So that's really good. So 10 years, this thing will more than pay itself off, which we're really happy with. The IP rating is 65. The battery type is HV, and 83 kilograms these things weigh. So they're pretty heavy and pretty chunky, but you saw the spot where we're going to put them. So that's not going to be an issue. Weight is not going to be an issue for us. And because we're undercover, that inverter should be really quiet. Well, fingers crossed at least. Now, the battery and inverter also comes with this app. I think it's called FoxCloud 2.0. Yep, so basically, why are we not in dark mode? Always dark mode, people, you know this. So basically from this, you can set the timing for your battery to kick in, right? So if you wanted it to just store the solar all day long and then kick in from about 6 p.m. also at night or a little bit later when you're asleep. You can do all that sort of stuff. You can also set the discharge limit. So batteries, to my understanding, and let me know down in the comments, guys, because this is my first battery. So if I'm saying anything that is wrong, or you could educate me on a bit, please do. But you don't want to run batteries to 0, especially with these type of batteries. You want to set it at like an 85 or 90%. It actually states in the warranty that I think a maximum discharge of 90%, leaving 10% is what you need to keep that warranty. So we'll bear that in mind. I'm not going to try and burn this thing out. And when we get this up and running in around a month, 6 weeks or so, we'll go through a full tutorial of all of this and show you how it's actually working in real time to see if what I'm talking about now makes sense. So looking now, this is my current usage, right? So this is at my current property I'm at now. So we're generating plenty of solar. We'll have a look at that now in a second. It's about 35 kilowatts a day on average. Now, most days we get about 45, but in Australia, in Queensland, we have what's called storm season. So it'll be 40 Celsius and 90% humidity one day. And then the next day it'll pour down rain in the afternoon. So while it's really, really hot, it's also really, really wet. So, it goes on and off like that. So, just as a baseline, right, we assume that we're storing 30 kilowatts a day. We can see if I was to set my battery from about 5 p.m. or even 6 p.m. when the sun's, completely down, we've got 3 kilowatts there. That's 5, that's 8, 10, 11 and a half. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you can see how this is going to work, right? We're going to be running off the solar all day long with that equipment, using about 1.5 to 2 kilowatts an hour. And then we're going to kick it in at about 5 p.m. and hopefully that will last us on that 80 to 90% discharge rate all through the night. Now, so you can see here, this is at the new property. Our solar feed-in average daily is just under 35 kilowatts, right? So should be plenty for what we're planning on using. Of course, like I said, got a pool there now, so the pool filters and pumps use more energy. We've got aircon, but we've got that here, and I am running less equipment now to be a bit smarter and actually make a bit more money with it. So we'll have to sort of see how this goes, but you can see here, 45 kilowatt hours. 42.95. Can you see that? Yeah. And then we have 4 days of rain here. So this is what really brings the average down. And look, I'm no fool. I do realize that we're not getting 40 kilowatts a day all year round. We're just going to have to adapt and see how this goes. 13 kilowatt hours, 14. So very up and down. But when the sun's out, anywhere from 35 up to 42. So look, we'll probably never max out this battery. But that's okay. Like you saw the costs, right? For a few $100s for an extra 4.5 kilowatt hour battery, why not? I'd rather have a little bit more for the days when we're actually not fully using all of the battery storage overnight, and we can stack it up that little bit higher again. So I wanted to very quickly talk about, an estimate of an ROI. Like how long will this thing take to pay off, right? We know it's got the 10-year warranty on the whole system. 60-month whole system warranty, 10-year product warranty. So the 60-month warranty, I was told you can get that up to a 10-year warranty by doing a yearly or bi-yearly inspection, which is going to cost money as well. But we don't care about that for now, right? Let's just keep it simple. So about $6,500. Where's our recent energy bills? Since we've been turning a bit of stuff off and we've had more solar, so 311, 390, $400 a month. Even if you said, right, you could cut off 70% of this bill and say you had a $75 a month bill, but you're saving about $300. You can do pretty basic maths on that, right? Divide that by 300 a month. 21 months, ideally, this thing could pay itself back off, maybe even faster. Even if you doubled it times 2, 42 months, 4 years. I think they generally say the payback period here on the east coast of Australia for batteries at the moment is generally around a 5-year sort of payback period. But looking at the numbers we've got here, could be a little bit sooner. Now, while we are saving good money there, we hope with the battery as far as reducing our electricity bills, we're also making additional money with our AI rental rigs and that mining rig you saw up there as well. And a few more to go online, as we said, once we get all set up. So very quickly, I want to show you how this works. This is a program called Octaspace. Now, I will leave either a card up above or a link to a playlist down below that talks all about Octaspace and rentals. You can do this right now from the computer you're at if you've got a reasonable GPU and CPU. But very basically, we've got our two rigs here. This is the 7945HX and a 5090. That was that white rig you saw. And down here is this Epic server motherboard and CPU with the two 5090s. As we said, both currently rented at the moment. Now, this dollar amount doesn't update exactly correctly. So this number should be a little bit lower. This one should be a bit higher. But let's just talk about pure numbers so you can get a bit of a gist of what's going on here. So we can see with our 7945HX, and this is the single GPU. Currently, this is set up and making 20 cents USD an hour before electric, but as we said, electricity shouldn't be a problem for us. But even still, at residential rates, 5090s with good hardware and good RAM are profitable, so bear that in mind. We also have this other rig right here. This is our dual 5090 with our Epic motherboard up here. That's rented out for 40 cents, so did some maths here before, so you can go 0.4, make sure it's on the screen, plus 0.2, so in USD at 60 cents an hour, this could be making. Now we times that by 1.5, get to Australian dollars, then we times that by 24, so additional $21 of income if this is rented out all the time on top of, the reduction in the electricity costs. So monthly, if we're lucky, could be an additional 648. So that's where I wanted to sort of show you how this sort of works, sort of twofold. Not only are you spending the electricity, you're also making money off the electricity savings by getting that battery. We also have this AE2 that we may or may not run. It does use a fair bit of power, 1300 watts. But if we could get an additional $7.85 worth of income a day, another $200 and something a month as well. So like we said, we're going to be doing monthly updates on this. So stay tuned if you're interested in seeing if this actually pans out like we thought it would. So we are going to wrap it up there, guys. Hopefully that gave you a bit of an insight into what I'm doing on the farm personally to try and increase these profits, and maybe an idea of something you might want to do, even if you're not crypto mining. Because battery prices here in Australia right now are really, really cheap. So get yourself one if you can afford to do it. And if you can pay it off in a few years, fantastic. Especially if it's going to last under warranty 7 more years on that. Let me know down in the comments, guys, if I've said anything wrong here. As I said, this is my first battery. I'm learning right now. So if you've got more experience with this stuff, please let me know. Chuck it in the comments. Join the Discord. The link is in the description, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.